After all this rigmarole surrounding Congress and HBCUs and the like, Title III of the college of the Protect College Sports Act would find HBCUs and broadband and media production. This could be a big, big move that will help the exposure of HBCU sports. And our good friend, first time joining us on the program, is Kyle Mosley from HBCUlegends.com on SI. And as always, it's good to talk to you as we get set to move towards the season. But I was really compelled by the work that you did on this story, man, because Congress continues to try to overhaul the NCAA. HBCUs have totally been outside that purview, but this seems like it could be a seminal moment in HBCU sports history, and I just find it ironic. It comes in a year where Charlie Lee has left us, but this could be escalating what his vision was when he started broadcasting HBCU games on BET. So, how do you look at this opportunity for HBCUs right now?
Well, it's a two-pronged viewpoint for me. And first of all, thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on, guys. One, it could be a great benefit for HBCUs, especially the ones who have been struggling with resources to be able to enhance their media production, right? And their infrastructure as well, because a lot of these campuses as well as these stadiums are not wired properly to be able to have high-speed internet connection. Right. So that's the first thing. It could be a very positive result, right? Then what you said was very key, because when they were doing the Protect Act, it did not encompass anything about HBCUs as well as FCS schools, right? They put it in, they called it Title III, toward the last second, so it could get to a vote in the Senate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did they do it at the last second? Was that for the black vote to be heard finally, or to come on to be able to be attached to this? So you have constituents in, like, let's say, Cruz's Texas district,
right,
where I'm at. Was that to be a favorable amendment to be able to help with voting situations? Because when I reached out to one of the CIAA Commissioner Jackie McWilliams Parker, she was on vacation at the time, but she did state that they're waiting to see what was going to happen, and if you don't know by now, the vote reached the Senate floor, but it never went any further, and now they're on recess. And there's a strong chance that the vote and the act may never get picked up again, or they may just shelve it or kick the can like they've been kicking the can all this time, right? So how does that help the HBCUs? Mark, it's still up in the air. We don't really know what's going to happen. From what Jackie McWilliams Parker told me, it could be a multi-billion-dollar, part of the act. But how much is that going to be allocated for HBCUs? But more importantly, if so, when? Because none of that has been designated inside of this act, as well as that amendment.
So the amendment itself would be the ones that would allocate.
Title III.
Okay, the Title III, right? That would be something that would make funds available in some capacity to HBCUs, if for no other reason, cosmetics, right?
Correct.
But as we always have done, we've been able to make a whole meal out of a morsel as a people, right? So out of this morsel, what do you think it looks like? It's because I'm compelled, because I hate the way that the HBCU distribution is being done, because the schools themselves have to pick up the production costs, which doesn't happen in the SEC or the Big Ten. Let's just be frank about that. So, but if we can improve the quality of the broadcast, then I think especially at this time where, despite everything that's going on, this is kind of like a renaissance era for HBCUs. So, can the sports thing be a part of that renaissance and go into people's houses? Is, I think, what I'm looking at more so than anything else, because I'm quite sure that because most of our schools are FCS and Division II, we know that the NCAA really kind of looks down on them, right?
Well, the NCAA is not going to favor them or put a priority on FCS as well as the HBCUs because the big money comes from the big power conferences, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at what's happening with the big power conferences and how that aligns uh, with this act, this Protect Sports Act, right? So right now, if you look at what the HBCUs and the question has come up. All right, so a part of the authorization amount for Section 302, it differs from the appropriation as far as meaning no money reaches the campuses until Congress appropriates it through the annual budget process. So what's that annual budget process? What's the appropriation? So right now this is kind of like, okay, we put this in here. Hopefully you guys like it, but what are we liking, and what is it to like? And as far as what you're saying is, as does it help the production value? Yeah, anything to be able to help some like especially the D2 uh, colleges to be able to help them with those smaller stadiums, with the Wi-Fi in those areas and everything else. Yes, that does help. Will it help with the production? Yes, it would. But what would also help is to be specific about what you are going to plan for the HBCUs. And we don't have clarity in that area.
Wow. And it's sad because I'm gonna call Byron Donalds out, former FAMU linebacker who played for Ken Riley. All right, and for him to turn his back or to not be a vocal advocate for this troubles me a great deal. I mean, you've played the game.
Well, mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You got to understanding for what the campus life is about. We're not asking. I don't think that the schools are asking for a ridiculous sum of money. They just are trying to level the playing field. And if you've been an HBCU athlete that benefited, why can't you be a voice?
Well, here's the problem also, Mark, and this is the thing that the Protect Sports Act doesn't really address. And this is the one critical area that the HBCU commissioners want addressed. If this act does not pass, they will be held responsible for providing benefits for each student athlete. That would be cost prohibitive for these conferences. In doing so, if these conferences and their member institutions have to provide benefits, then we could look at some of the sports being wiped out on some of these campuses. That's why there's such a fraction that's going on. You have the Black Caucus against it. You have one of the UNCF for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have these various entities in the Black community who are fractioned by this, you don't know what to really make of it. But I want to get it right because the CIAA put out the announcement on behalf of the HBCU 4Us, which are the conference commissioners from the SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, as well as SIAC. The commissioners reaffirmed their mission to be an advocate for HBCUs, right? they want to see the priorities to enhance the student athlete experience. What does that mean? They want to be able to look beyond what's going to happen and make sure that the student athletes can stay on campus. They can fund the sports programs, but if they do it based upon not having this act or having the previous act passed through, then some of these campuses may have to wipe out some of these programs.
Wow. So that means more kids perhaps losing scholarships and things of that nature. So we're looking at a choice factor here in as far as the HBCU community. Do you want exposure or do you want to continue to, fuel education? And that's just a backslap to me. It puts, conferences, athletic directors, all kinds of athletic administrators in a pickle when trying to run these programs. So are we better
Yeah,
off if the act doesn't pass then?
I think the revised version of it, the one that Cruz and his parties were trying to promote, I think that's the one HBCUs can feel better about, right? The previous version, based upon what President Trump put out, is going to be very damaging for the HBCUs. So that's why they wanted to have this Protect Sports Act to be able to pass through. As I told you before, still you got the Black Caucus doesn't believe it's to the benefit of the student athlete because it doesn't allow them to be able to set up their own unions. But what they're not viewing is the fact that if you set up those unions and create and force these conferences to have benefits, where's that funding going to come through? And I thought Title III would address that part, but Title III started addressing more media versus addressing how we're going to help HBCUs fund those areas as far as the possibility of providing benefits.
Kyle Mosley is our guest, joining us from HBCU Legends, where you can find that as a part of SI.com. And if you really want the latest news as fast as it happens, it's definitely on that particular HBCU sports portal. And they've been doing it for years. I guess we're coming down to a situation because HBCUs can't play the NIL game that their major college counterparts are, and they continue to lose players. So to me, worst case scenario, could this be a means where you see more turnover, for lack of a better term, in terms of rosters than we already see right now?
I don't think that's going to stop, Mark. Let's be honest, man. I think HBCUs as well as FCS programs are starting to realize that they are becoming more of a training ground for FBS programs. And I don't see how it's going to stop, like you said, unless some of these HBCUs are able to broker some very great corporate deals. We saw with Alabama A&M where they had the patch jersey deal
Right.
with Omni 2X Max, right? 2 Max, Omni 2 Max. I apologize. So right now, I think, especially here in the Houston area, right? And you're in
Right.
DC.
In the Sun Belt, yes.
There's so much, there's billions and billions of dollars around here, right? Prairie View, Texas Southern, what's happening with the marketing effort? What's happening with the efforts to try to get some of this oil and gas money to be able to help these guys or put some sponsorship deals together for these guys? Now, remember, if you do the sponsorship, that could be only like 1 year, 2 years. You want something that's going to be long term so you can have that relationship going. And I would just like to see some of these institutions, especially here in the Houston area, be able to benefit from the billions of dollars that's just flowing all across this community.
from your mouth to God's ears, my brother. I mean, the same thing can be said whether you're on the East Coast and you're a part of Metropolis, where you have a lot of big business makers and people could do that. And we got about a minute to go here. So, do you think that the creative marketing strategy has to come from the schools themselves in order for them to be first self-sustaining, but potentially make this act work for Black schools?
If the act doesn't work, you're still going to have to be self-sustaining. I still believe schools have to find a way to say we can't always rely on the government or someone else to bail us out. How can we be able to market our program, market our product? Tremaine Jackson said it better. You have to respect your product before anyone else respects your product.
You got me choked up on that one, but no words have been truer spoken. So we'll keep an eye on this. Kyle Mosley from SI.com's HBCU Legends. Thank you so much for the knowledge, bro. You know, we'll get into X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's later on as we get close to the season. Like that one, old school, right? Anyway.
Jimmy's and Joe's. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you. Hey, we got more of what you came here for on the other side. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Remember, download the mobile app, Sports Rap Network. We all we got.